Good morning. We're going to go ahead and get started, although a couple of people are going to join us, and a couple other people who are on the resolution will not be here today. But I am proud to stand here with my friend, Congressman Gutierrez, with other Congress people who will be here in announcing that we are introducing articles of impeachment to remove President Trump from office. There will be, I believe, 6 signatories on the resolution. We have taken this action because of great concern for our country and our Constitution, our national security, and our democracy. We believe that President Trump has violated the Constitution, and we've introduced 5 articles of impeachment. The first is obstruction of justice, which deals with Mr. Comey's firing. The second is a violation of the Constitution's Foreign Emolument Clause, which deals with monies he's taken from foreign powers without the consent of Congress. The third is a violation of the Domestic Emoluments Clause, which deals with monies he's made from the United States and as personal businesses beyond that of his salary, which is also forbidden by our Constitution. The fourth is undermining our federal judiciary, and the fifth is undermining freedom of the press. These are progressive actions he's taken over a period of time against the press and against the judiciary, with positive actions to cap off a pattern of behavior, belittling and questioning these institutions that are so important for our democracy. The judiciary obviously is in the Constitution and an equal branch of government. The press is not in the Constitution, but freedom of press is. And he's threatened licenses of broadcast stations, so-called fake news, and other actions that hurt our democracy. They definitely hurt our democracy. They're fundamental parts of it. So we're calling upon the House to begin impeachment hearings immediately. It's not a call for a vote, it's a call for hearings. I don't expect the House Judiciary Committee, which is operated like a branch of the administration, to take up hearings. It's their responsibility, in my opinion, and I believe Congressman Gutierrez's and our other colleagues, to have hearings. But of the 4 committees that have jurisdiction, House and Senate Intelligence and House and Senate Judiciary, the House Judiciary, which is the particular committee which would have responsibility for bringing impeachment charges through the Constitution. Al, come join us, please. Has that responsibility, and of which I sit as the ranking member on the Constitution Subcommittee, has not taken any action whatsoever or had any hearings whatsoever. And because of that, it's even more important that Congressman Gutierrez, who's a member of this committee, and myself bring this impeachment article for a failure of our chairman to even have hearings. If we don't have hearings, which we don't expect, we will be holding briefings and participating in briefings on these particular charges to let people know what's going on as we experience them, that the Constitution is being violated, that our democracy is being threatened, and to bring these charges to light in the form of briefings with experts who will help us explain it to the American people. Some people may say, why in light of the investigation of Bob Mueller? We support Bob Mueller's investigation, but he's looking at criminal charges. And that can or may not be an impeachable offense. More likely than not, it will be. We think he's going to come up with things, but that's for him, and it's going to take some time. There's no reason why we don't start now with definite violations of our Constitution and threats to our democracy. There are already sufficient facts in the public record to warrant this start of impeachment proceedings in Congress, and given the magnitude of the constitutional crisis, there's no reason for delay. With regard to obstruction, we know President Trump fired FBI Director Comey while the Bureau was investigating potential collusion with Russia and the Trump campaign, and the President has already admitted on national television that he had the Russia investigation on his mind when he fired Director Comey. We already know that Donald Trump Jr. met with a Russian attorney who offered to provide damaging evidence on Hillary Clinton as part of Russian government's efforts to help his father's campaign. These facts are uncontested. They are similarly clear-cut facts with regard to the foreign and domestic emoluments clauses. You just have to go to the Trump Hotel, the Trump Tower, see what the Saudis have paid, what other foreign governments have paid, what the Secret Service is paying, what people pay to stay at Mar-a-Lago, and other expenses that we're paying right now. And it's because President Trump, unlike any president in recent history, has not released his taxes and has not put his ownership of assets into a blind trust. The framers of our Constitution wisely prohibited presidents from accepting payments has been made, such as the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia paying $270,000 to the Trump International Hotel as part of their lobbying effort. And the Embassy of Kuwait held an event there, spending, give or take, $50,000. Harry Truman didn't do it. President Eisenhower didn't do it. The Bushes didn't do it. Nobody's done it. Nobody benefits financially, directly, as they are President of the United States. It demeans the office, it demeans the country, it demeans the Constitution. President Trump has repeated visits to Trump-branded properties, which he retains an ownership interest, and that has caused the federal government to spend money there. As I've mentioned, Secret Service golf carts at Mar-a-Lago, lodging in Mar-a-Lago. In Hawaii, he couldn't help but say that the golf tournament or maybe it was Korea, their golf tournament where it was won by a Korean was at his golf club. There's a well-established record of President Trump with regards to undermining the independence of the judiciary, pardoning Sheriff Arpaio is part of that destruction of the judicial process, and the so-called judges. Before I yield to Mr. Gutierrez, I said after Charlottesville I was going to bring impeachment charges. I've waited 3 months to work at the House, find other people who would support this. There are 5 others who will be on the resolution. There are others who have told me they will be there soon. They wanted to be there. Also wanted to perfect the resolution. We've worked with scholars. I want to thank my staff, Mr. Wiseman, my chief of staff, Ms. Dillahay, and everybody else who's worked on this, and members of the committee who are not here, and none of the committee who worked with it to make it an article that's worthy of the Judiciary Committee and of an article of impeachment, which is an important process. What happened at Charlottesville burned me as I saw Klansmen and neo-Nazis march and the president not respond in the manner which the president of the United States should in looking out and protecting people of my faith and people of my district, African Americans, who were being threatened with their very liberty. Continually, he has gone on with other offenses. It's important that we not let the failure of the Republicans to stop us from doing what is right, what is our charge in the Constitution, what is our duty to bring impeachment when it occurs, and to stand up for the Constitution and American values. I'd like to recognize Representative Luis Gutierrez with great appreciation. He'll recognize Representative Green. He'll represent the next person that comes.
Well, Congressman Cohen, thank you. I have to say I enjoy working with you on the Judiciary Committee, and it gives me great honor to co-sponsor these articles of impeachment. Let me put this in context. There are many reasons why I think the president is an awful president, an awful person. But not all of those reasons rise to the level of impeaching a sitting president. We are not seeking his impeachment because of what he did before he was president. For example, he proudly bragged about sexually assaulting women. And he has been linked to such a long list of sexually inappropriate conduct that I think it is fair to conclude that he is hostile to women in general. We are not seeking to impeach him because of the growing racial and ethnic tension in this country that, in my opinion, this president knowingly and willingly activates by playing up racial hatred and bias, and he thrives on it. He didn't denounce Nazi marches and racism because he knows he benefits from them. I'm not joining this effort because of his sustained anti-Latino bias. He started his campaign by calling Mexican immigrants murderers and rapists. He doesn't think that an American-born judge in Indiana with a Spanish-sounding last name is legitimate, just as he does not believe that Latinos voting is legitimate. And I think he is taking the country in exactly the wrong direction on immigration by taking documented immigrants, those legally in this country, and making them undocumented so that he can deport them. I think the Muslim ban and ending DACA are fundamentally hurtful and harmful to the United States and our values as a nation. I could probably name up another dozen examples how President Trump is doing deep, permanent damage to the United States and all of our people by taking away health care, erasing environmental protections, rolling back protections for the LGBTQ community and working people and immigrants. And God knows, I think, what he is doing or not doing on Puerto Rico is deeply offensive. However, what elevates certain actions to the level of high crimes and misdemeanors are the following examples. President Trump asked the vice president and others to leave the room, including the attorney general, to leave the room so that he could have a private one-on-one conversation with FBI Director Jim Comey to tell him to back off on the Russian investigation. You do not ask witnesses to leave the room unless you know you are committing a crime, and in this case, it was clearly obstruction of justice. The president once said, I'm going to quote, "It is very possible that I could be the first presidential candidate to run and make money on it." And he's kept his word on that promise by continuing to line his pockets with money and to drive business to his brands using the public office of the presidency. That is not right, that is not illegal, and he should be impeached for it. I think the ongoing investigations will uncover even more instances where the president has violated the law and violated the public trust. And I'm glad those investigations are still moving forward, despite, in some instances, attempts by the president to slow them down or derail them. This is not a substitute, what we are doing here today, being led by Congressman Cohen, is not a substitute for the investigations that should and will go forward. But the Congress needs to get started. The U.S. Congress, and specifically the Judiciary Committee, on which I sit with Steve Cohen, is the place where impeachment starts, and if we fail to file these articles of impeachment, we would be failing to do our jobs. Estamos aquí porque creemos que el presidente fundamentalmente ha sido criminal en sus acciones, obstruyendo investigaciones y lucrándose personalmente de ganancias personales como presidente de los Estados Unidos. Y nosotros creemos que se debe empezar el proceso de removerlo como presidente de los Estados Unidos de América. Y es la responsabilidad del Comité de lo Jurídico, en el cual el congresista Cohen y yo servimos, de iniciar ese proceso con audiencias públicas. Queremos audiencias públicas. No obstante, que continúen las investigaciones, aunque el presidente lo ha tratado de oscurecer. Nosotros queremos traer claridad y luz. And with that, I almost went straight to Spanish, Congressman Green. And with
Arriba, amigo.
Arriba, and with that, Congressman Al Green, our good friend. Thank you.